Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to The Audio Analyst. I wonder how many of you watching realize or give any thought to what an amazing time it is to be a music-loving audiophile. Allow me a short rant to make today's content even a little more relevant. When I first fell under the inescapable spell music cast over me, it was the very early 1960s. In those days, the choices for audio gear were severely limited by comparison, especially for the kid of a working-class family. I was fortunate to grow up in a home where my father considered a radio a necessity, with top 40 AM stations and baseball games almost always providing the backdrop to my life then. But my world realized a seismic shift when I gained access to a modular stereo record player at age 10. It was the summer of 1965, and the Beatles were in full ascension. With this new development, I could now program what I listened to, rather than have to wait for a favored cut to see random airplay. Of course, that meant buying records, 45s at first, then the discovery of the LP. Yet in those days, even the best stereo sets were still built around their conveniences and features, attributes like portability and multiple LP record stacking, rather than focusing on their ability to deliver the best sound from the records played on them. By the summer of 1970, when I was still 14 and had just finished 9th grade, it was clear that this landscape had begun to change. By the following year, the son of a couple that my parents regularly played bridge with had done something I found completely amazing. He had opened a store in a nearby college town that sold nothing but stereo equipment. With record players and cartridges from Dual, Girard, Thorens, Pickering, Shure, and Stanton, electronics from companies like Dynaco, Marantz, Pioneer, Rotel, and Sherwood, and speakers from AR, Advent, Altec Lansing, EPI, JBL, and even Sony, I was witness to the dawn of the first golden age of stereo. What does all this have to do with today's episode? Most of my colleagues will agree with my contention that we are in the midst of an incredibly fertile and remarkable period in which so many significant advances have been achieved in all manner of our music reproduction gear, sources, electronics, loudspeakers, and cables that many will acknowledge we are living in a time that must be recognized as a second golden era. While my passion and focus are rooted in the realm of hyper-audio products, gear some refer to as luxury audio, where new benchmarks are being set and the boundary between live performance and playback are being routinely diminished, the mere fact that this stratum of gear is so healthy and vibrant today only serves to drive the elevation of the performance from many more of those more affordable offerings. If you are reasonably discriminating, you will find many affordable products available today that can compete with and push the limits to encroach upon what was benchmark performance just a decade or so ago, and unquestionably render better sound than the finest products available at any price during that first golden age. For a convenient example, I'd ask you to just have a look at my take on the WiiM family of streamers in episode 147. It is with this corollary in mind that I want to talk to you about an absurdly affordable DAC I accidentally discovered, the SU-1 from S.M.S.L that sells for $80 retail. If you are anything like me, your first thought would be to ask, who or what the hell is S.M.S.L? Their full name is Foshan Shangmu-Sanlin, and they manufacture a wide range of audio products, including amplifiers, DACs, headphones, even cables. Based in Shenzhen in China's Guangdong province, they were founded in 2009, have fully staffed R&D and marketing teams, and sell their products directly from their online store, as well as through various other online retailers like Amazon and Alibaba. They seem to offer a well-diversified range of products, ranging in price from budget to considerably more costly. You may check out their site linked in today's description. Now, it's not like I was shopping for an affordable DAC. I have the Ideon Absolute Suite, as well as a Lampezator Baltic 4 on hand. But when I ran across this uber-affordable DAC while shopping for something else on Amazon, priced at just $79.99, I did a double take. How good could this thing sound? $80? So I pulled the trigger and ordered mine from Amazon with free shipping. It arrived in a tiny white cardboard box that seemed perfect for the application, not overdone, but providing effective protection, that contained the DAC, a USB-A to USB-C cable about 3 feet in length, and its terse user manual. At just 3 3/4 inches wide, 3 inches deep, and just over an inch tall, not even weighing a full 7 ounces, this is one tiny DAC. The front and rear panel appeared to be 1/8 inch thick milled aluminum plates with a folded aluminum chassis fitted with 4 round rubber footers on its bottom. The faceplate has its brand and model number stenciled in white to the left, with 4 white indicator lamps labeled from left to right, MQA, USB, optical, and coaxial, followed by a push-button switch that allows toggling power on and off and the selection of the preferred input. The back plate barely accommodates all its connectivity options, the single-ended stereo outputs, and the coax, optical, and USB-C inputs, which also delivers DC power. This DAC uses the exceptionally well-regarded Asahi Kasei Microdevices AK4493S XU316 DAC, employing AKM's advanced Velvet sound technology, which they claim improves its electrical and audio integrity, enhances its stability and dynamics, and reduces its power consumption. The AKM AK4493S accepts up to 768 kHz PCM data and 22.4 MHz or quad DSD data, and is MQA enabled. MQA stands for Master Quality Authenticated, which is a way to supposedly deliver high-resolution audio using a relatively small amount of data via an encode-decode process. I won't go too far off into the weeds here, save to mention that since its introduction a decade ago, I have never heard MQA make a significant difference when demonstrated. More importantly, MQA has filed for a specialized form of bankruptcy, and though the company's assets were recently bought by Ontario-based Lenbrook Industries Limited, owners of the brands Blue Sound, NAD, and PSB, the verdict on its viability is still out. But back to the AKM AK4493S. This AKM chip is said to have a distortion level lower than 13/10,000%. The SU-1 is fully compatible with Windows 7 and higher, Apple's Mac OS 10.6 and higher, as well as Linux, Android, and iOS. So where is all this going? If you saw episode 147, the WiiM streaming experience, you may recall that this is the same AKM chip used in the WiiM Pro Plus, but not in the Mini, which uses the Texas Instruments PCM 5121 DAC. I was curious to know if driving the SU-1 from the Toslink output of the WiiM Mini, which supports up to 192 kHz 24-bit audio output, just like the Pro Plus, could compete with, or even maybe best, the standalone performance of the analog output from the $219 WiiM Pro Plus. Now, the WiiM Mini lists at $99, but is often discounted to $89. And with another $79.99 for the SU-1, the total investment could be as low as $169, or just over 75% of the cost of the WiiM Pro Plus. I had to find out what this little Chinese DAC could do. First, I spent some time with this DAC implemented in my big rig, connected to my Lenovo CAD workstation music streamer, where I used it with JRiver Media Center to play files from my NAS or to listen to the audio from various websites, giving it some time to run in. While this DAC could never be mistaken for my world-class Ideon Absolute Suite, or even the overachieving Baltic 4 from Lampezator, it had absolutely no business sounding as good as it did. After about the first hour, as the initial slight hardness and edge had begun to burn off, I was more than just slightly impressed with how bloody good this little DAC, not much bigger than a deck of poker-sized playing cards, was rendering my NAS files from those of the lowly Redbook standard up to quad DSD. I kept looking at it and repeating under my breath, $80, $80, $80. Then I had another idea. I wondered how it might sound to stream Roon and or Qobuz directly from my Samsung phone. Using the needed USB-C to USB-C cable, I connected my Samsung phone and gave it a shot. Damn. Streaming files directly from the Qobuz app or from Roon using their Arc app, I was able to bypass the analog output from my device and stream the digital files directly. The difference between the two outputs, as rendered on my reference system, was not just obvious. It was markedly significant. The takeaway here should be that when you add this little DAC and the necessary $10 or $12 cable to transfer the digital signal out of your mobile device to the input on this overachieving micro DAC, to a subscription to your favorite high-quality music streaming service like Qobuz, Tidal, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, Pandora, SoundCloud, SiriusXM, whatever you like, you have just built yourself a killer-sounding, fully digital playback system. All in on the hardware for under $100. Pretty impressive. After about a week, it was time to run my original experiment, and I took it upstairs to install in my second space system, along with the WiiM Mini for the decisive test. Guess what? After repeatedly swapping back and forth between the WiiM Pro Plus and the WiiM Mini driving the S.M.S.L SU-1, I clearly found that, for whatever reason or reasons, the Mini driving the SU-1 via its Toslink output repeatedly sounded more dynamic, offered better pitch definition, especially through the bass and mid-bass regions, and seemed more focused, delivering slightly more convincing dimensionality and space to staging and imaging cues. I've included several minutes of the same two tracks I used in episode 147 that you may compare the two should you choose. Here are those two samples of how this ridiculously affordable DAC presented recordings in my second space system. Have a listen. I think you'd be forced to agree that this system can render some compelling and exceptional sonic results given its absurdly affordable investment. For those with any interest, full details, including brands, models, and pricing of all the gear in my second space system are linked in today's description. In support of my opening comments, this bloody little gizmo contributes to the superbly convincing argument that we are living in an astounding time to be listening to music, a time when even such absurdly affordable, overachieving products as this SU-1 DAC are readily available for music-loving audiophiles like us. And to my point, one that anyone with any budget can afford. What I hope you realize with today's discussion is that at the cost of admission here, anyone who has been holding back, especially those hesitant due to the fear of taking an expensive misstep, can afford to dip their toes into the waters of building a high-quality streaming and digital playback system. This S.M.S.L SU-1 DAC is so well built, so versatile, and so amazing sounding that there is every likelihood that it may be many things to many people. To most, it will represent the opening of new doors to all kinds of music, from old favorites to bestowing you the ability to explore and discover new bands and maybe even new musical forms and genres that you've never had convenient ways to consider before. For some, it will be all you will ever need to fulfill your digital music journey. For others, it will be the gateway to new and ever better sounding musical experiences. Before closing, when this episode drops, I will be in the final hour or so of the largest, most exceptional, and most exciting audio show on Earth, as the 4 days of high-end Munich will be winding down at the Munich Order Center. I can't wait to share my experiences from this exhilarating and unrivaled show with you over the next weeks. As always, thank you for taking the time to drop by today. Further information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.